You have lived your life surrounded by illusions, fed on lies that keep you dependent, distracted, and weak. You cling to people, to their approval, to the fragile comfort of belonging. You think being surrounded means you are strong. But I tell you the opposite. You are chained. You do not see it because you have mistaken noise for loyalty, attention for value, and company for strength. You walk with others because you are afraid of walking alone. And in that fear, you have already surrendered your power. The truth is merciless. Those you lean on are not your allies. They are your captors. And every time you depend on them, you hand them the keys to your survival. You imagine that solidarity protects you. You imagine that companionship shields you. Yet, what I once warned princes of holds true for you. The one who leans too heavily on the arms of others will fall the moment those arms withdraw. And they will withdraw. Human loyalty is not made of steel, it is made of smoke. It swirls in your favor when the wind of fortune blows your way, and it dissipates when storms arrive. Do you not see how quickly admiration turns to envy, how swiftly friendship curdles into betrayal, how easily allies become executioners, and yet you still beg for their company, still trade your autonomy for the illusion of safety? You are like a soldier who insists on marching without his own weapon, relying on another to protect him. On the battlefield of life, such a soldier is already dead. He dies before the enemy even strikes, because he has placed his survival in hands, not his own. You have done the same. You rely on their validation to define your worth, their attention to confirm your existence, their presence to ease your fear of silence. You have outsourced your strength, and now you stand hollow, a vessel filled with the borrowed breath of others. This is the sickness of your condition. You fear solitude because it confronts you with the weight of your own fragility. Alone, you must face yourself without distraction. Alone, you must supply your own discipline, your own courage, your own clarity. That is why you avoid it. You know that in silence you will hear the echo of your own weakness. You cannot hide from yourself when there is no one else to look at. So you surround yourself with chatter, with noise, with company, convincing yourself that togetherness is strength. But let me tear away the veil. You have traded power for comfort. And comfort is the greatest enemy of survival. When you cannot endure solitude, you are exposed. Any ruler, any manipulator, any rival can see it. They know you will yield at the threat of being cast out. They know you will obey when companionship is dangled before you like bait. They know your weakness, and they will exploit it. I have seen men stripped of their titles, not because they lacked resources or armies, but because they could not stand alone when isolation pressed in. They begged for allies. They pleaded for approval. They sold their sovereignty piece by piece until nothing remained but dependence. And when the axe fell, they were abandoned, forgotten, discarded as liabilities. Machiavellian strategy dictates one principle above all: control what you can control, and do not entrust survival to the unreliable hands of others. Dependence is the chain, solitude is the sword. When you learn to endure the silence of your own company, you cut yourself free from the manipulation of those who would control you. Alone, you may be outnumbered, but you are not outflanked. Alone, you are unpredictable, for you do not require permission to act, nor consensus to decide. Alone, you hold command of the battlefield. That is your life. The power of being alone is not romantic. It is not poetic. It is brutal discipline. It is the willingness to face the night without a torch, to stand guard when no relief arrives, to sharpen your mind against the stone of silence. It is attrition warfare against your own weakness. Every hour you endure solitude. You strip away your illusions. You burn away the need for applause, the craving for comfort, the addiction to distraction. You become lean, ruthless, precise. The world fears the one who needs nothing. For such a person cannot be bribed, cannot be blackmailed, cannot be broken. But you, as you are now, are already broken. You are scattered across the expectations of others, fragmented by their opinions, enslaved by your hunger for belonging. You march under their banners, not your own. You defend their interests, not yours. You think yourself independent, yet every choice you make is calculated to keep their approval, to keep their attention, to keep the fragile thread of connection intact. And for what? To be used? To be discarded? To be one more pawn moved across a board you do not control? The cost of remaining in this state is not abstract. It is immediate, measurable, and lethal. Every time you defer to others, you surrender initiative. Every time you hesitate for fear of judgment, you delay your own campaign. Every time you cling to someone else for validation, you weaken your supply lines, making yourself vulnerable to siege. You think you are gaining comfort, but in reality, you are forfeiting territory. You are losing ground. The walls are closing in, and you cannot see it because you are blinded by the smoke of companionship. I tell you with ruthless clarity, only in solitude do you regain the throne of your own mind. Only in solitude do you command your own chain of command. Only in solitude can you hear the true reports from the reconnaissance of your soul, not the false intelligence fed to you by others who wish to keep you compliant. Alone, you see. Alone, you plan. Alone, you decide. This is the survival advantage that I dictate to you, the unshakable power of being alone. Now the question is whether you will accept this truth or continue in denial. If you persist in clinging to others, you will remain a servant. You will remain expendable. But if you take the path of solitude, if you train yourself to endure the silence, if you strip away the illusions of belonging, you will find yourself armed with a weapon. No one can confiscate absolute independence. You will no longer fear abandonment, because abandonment will no longer exist for you. You will no longer fear betrayal because you no longer depend on loyalty. You will no longer fear being forgotten because you will command your own presence. This is the opening strike. I have pierced the armor of your illusion. You feel the wound. You feel the sting. Do not retreat back into denial. Stand in it. Endure it. Let the pain of this realization temper you. For only then can you begin the campaign that will transform you from pawn to commander. The battlefield is set. The question remains, will you continue as you are, surrounded but weak? Or will you step into solitude and claim the unshakable power that belongs only to those who can stand alone? You think the crowd protects you. You think their laughter cushions your fall. You imagine that by being surrounded, you cannot be cornered. But look closely when everyone moves in step with you. You are not leading. You are marching in their parade. Your voice is lost in the chorus. Your will dissolved into the command of another. You are not protected. You are absorbed. You are erased. You cling to them because you cannot stand the emptiness of solitude. But in doing so, you trade your sovereignty for the illusion of safety. It is like a general who fears holding the high ground alone, so he descends to join the mob in the valley. He feels surrounded, but he has surrendered the only true advantage he had. That is you. You abandon the heights of independence to huddle in the crowd, where you mistake suffocation for warmth. I have observed men who trusted too deeply in their allies. They thought loyalty was armor, thought friendship was shield. When fortune turned, their allies became deserters. Their friends became rivals. Their shield became a blade pointed at their throat. The masses do not love you. They tolerate you. They do not follow you. They endure you until the moment you stumble. And then they trample you. This is not cynicism. It is reconnaissance. It is the intelligence report of reality. Ignore it, and you march blindly into ambush after ambush. You tell yourself you are kind, that you care, that you cannot bear to walk alone because it is unnatural. That is the language of the domesticated from. Lions walk alone until they choose to gather power. Wolves form packs, not out of friendship, but out of strategy. And even then, dominance defines every bond. You, however, operate like prey. You follow for comfort. You attach for reassurance. You move with the herd because the silence terrifies you. Do you not see? Herds are led to slaughter precisely because they cling to one another. Solitude is not weakness. It is the training ground of discipline. When you are alone, you are forced to become your own strategist, your own commander, your own soldier. Every order comes from you. Every failure points back to you. There is no one to blame, no one to lean on. This is why you avoid it, because it demands accountability. In solitude, the excuses vanish. You either sharpen your blade or you let it rust. You either march or you collapse. There is no applause. No pity. No rescue. Only you and the weight of your own choices. And in that crucible, power is forged. You want to be strong, yet you surround yourself with distractions that dull you. You want to be respected, yet you beg for inclusion. You want control, yet you let others dictate your every move because you cannot imagine being cast out. The paradox is glaring. The more you crave their company, the less they value yours. Dependency breeds contempt. Independence breeds fear. When you no longer need them, when you can march into battle with no one at your side, then they will respect you. Until then, they will use you. Think of the battlefield. Supply lines define survival. If yours run through the hands of others, you are already besieged. They control your food, your water, your ammunition. They can cut you off at will. But when you supply yourself, when you master solitude, you become untouchable. They cannot starve you, for your discipline feeds you. They cannot break you, for your mind is self-reinforced. They cannot isolate you, for isolation has become your weapon. That is why being alone is an advantage. It removes every lever they could use to control you. I have seen rulers rise because they needed no one. They allied when it was useful, but never from hunger. They negotiated not from fear of abandonment, but from cold calculation of gain. When betrayed, they did not collapse, for their foundation rested not on others, but on themselves. I have also seen rulers fall because they mistook loyalty for permanence. They thought their allies were bound to them by friendship. They thought their soldiers loved them. But soldiers do not love, they follow strength. When strength falters, they defect. The same is true of every human bond you rely upon. The cost of ignoring this truth is already written in your life. You have been disappointed. You have been betrayed. You have been abandoned at the moment you needed them most. Yet instead of learning, you doubled your dependence. You begged harder, attached stronger, feared solitude even more. You have conditioned yourself to run into the arms of those who exploit you. It is a cycle of weakness, a siege of your own making. And still you call it connection. Still you pretend it is love. Wake from this delusion. What you call love is often manipulation. What you call support is often surveillance. What you call friendship is often mutual exploitation. If you cannot stand alone, you cannot tell the difference. And so you are deceived again and again. Solitude is the reconnaissance that reveals the truth. In silence, you see who reaches for you out of strategy and who reaches out of need. In silence, you separate the useful from the useless, the ally from the parasite, the soldier from the traitor. Without solitude, You are blind. Do not mistake me. I do not say you must remain forever alone. I say you must master it. Only when solitude does not crush, you can company be chosen freely. Only when you need nothing can you truly negotiate. If you cannot walk alone, you are always bargaining from desperation. You will trade your freedom for the smallest scrap of attention. You will accept chains if they are gilded with companionship. But when you stand alone and unshaken, you can enter alliances as commander. Not as beggar. That is survival. That is advantage. Machiavellian strategy demands this. Position yourself where no betrayal can destroy you. Build your fortress within. Train your army in silence. Sharpen your weapons when no one watches. Then, when you enter the field, you do so not as a supplicant, but as a sovereign. Others will gather around you because they sense your independence. They will follow because you do not need them. They will fear abandoning you because you can survive without them. That is the paradox of power. When you no longer require their presence becomes inevitable. But do not rush to the comfort of this conclusion. Remember, the path to that strength is ruthless. You must strip yourself of every illusion. You must endure nights of silence without distraction. You must confront the truth that most of what you called love was dependency. Most of what you called loyalty was convenience. Most of what you called strength was borrowed. You must tear these illusions from yourself like rotting flesh. Only then can you walk into the battlefield of life with unshakable power. You fear this because you are still weak. You want comfort. You want soothing words. You want me to tell you that solitude will feel gentle, that it will heal you, that it will embrace you like a friend. It will not. It will break you. It will starve you of attention, strip you of distraction, expose you to the raw wind of your own insignificance. It will make you face yourself, unarmed, unprotected, unmasked. But if you endure it, if you do not flee, if you sharpen yourself in that crucible, then you will emerge as something others cannot touch. Alone, you will become commander. Alone, you will become unshakable. Alone, you will become free. You hesitate because you still believe you can balance both worlds, that you can remain dependent and still be strong, that you can cling to companionship and still command respect. This delusion is your greatest weakness. Power does not tolerate divided allegiance. You cannot serve both comfort and control. You cannot be sovereign while begging for approval. You cannot march as commander while chained to the opinions of others. The battlefield does not forgive hesitation. And yet, hesitation is the foundation of your life. You move only after checking if others approve. You speak only when silence would expose you. You act only when you are certain you will not be abandoned. This is not strength. This is subjugation. Understand this. Weakness is not neutral. It is not passive. Weakness attracts predators. On the field of survival, the one who cannot stand alone is already targeted. Rivals can sense dependency. Manipulators can smell fear of abandonment. Exploiters know that one threat of isolation will bend you to their will. You call them cruel. I call them observant. They see what you deny. They see the cracks in your armor, the panic in your eyes when solitude looms, and they press that advantage until you are on your knees. What you call friendship is often a chain. What you call love is often a leash. What you call community is often a cage. And yet you clutch these chains as though they were treasures. You feed your captors with your obedience, and you do not even resist because you are too afraid to be alone in the silence. Do you see the trap? You defend your weakness because you are addicted to it. The cost is catastrophic. Every year you live like this, you erode your autonomy further. Every choice made for the sake of acceptance is a fortress dismantled brick by brick. Every concession given to avoid solitude is a weapon thrown to the ground. Every time you silence yourself to preserve harmony, You disarm yourself before the enemy even attacks. You are not preparing for war, you are preparing for defeat. Do you want proof? Look at your history. Count the betrayals you endured. Count the times you were abandoned when you needed them most. Count the times your so-called allies used your loyalty as a rope to bind you, then tightened the knot when you tried to resist. The evidence is there, written in your own scars, and yet you continue the same cycle. You are like a general who loses battle after battle, yet refuses to change strategy. He blames fortune. He blames the enemy. He blames his soldiers, but never himself. That is you. The truth is merciless. Your suffering persists because you refuse to change your doctrine. You cling to weakness because it feels familiar. You avoid solitude because it terrifies you. You think strength will appear while you remain dependent. As if discipline can grow in captivity. It cannot. Strength is forged in solitude. And you have fled from solitude your entire life. That is why you remain fragile. Why betrayal devastates you. Why loneliness paralyzes you. You have trained yourself for dependency. And so, dependency is all you know. But I tell you this, the battlefield does not care for your fear. War does not pause because you are unprepared. Survival is not delayed until you feel ready. The assault is already underway. Every day you hesitate. Every hour you cling to others. Every moment you avoid solitude, you lose ground. Your enemies advance. Your territory shrinks. And your will decays. Soon, there will be nothing left but the ruins of what you might have been. If you are to survive, if you are to command, you must adopt a new doctrine. You must treat solitude not as an enemy but as a weapon. You must drill yourself to endure silence as if it were combat training. You must strip away the need for validation as if cutting away gangrenous flesh. This is not healing. This is amputation. It will hurt. It will bleed. But if you refuse, the infection of weakness will spread until it consumes you entirely. Machiavellian strategy dictates this. When you cannot trust your allies, when betrayal is certain, when the battlefield is unstable, secure your own supply lines first. That means you must become the source of your own discipline, your own validation, your own resolve. You must learn to march without applause, to fight without reassurance, to endure without companions. Only then are you secure. Only then are you untouchable. You imagine solitude as emptiness, as deprivation. That is your ignorance. Solitude is reconnaissance. In silence, you see the truth stripped bare. You see who you are without masks. You see the terrain of your own mind without interference. You see the weakness you must eradicate and the strength you must cultivate. Alone, you read the battlefield with clarity. Surrounded, you see only smoke. Do not think this path is optional. It is inevitable. If you do not embrace solitude by choice, it will be forced upon you by betrayal, abandonment, or death. One day, the people you cling to will leave. One day, the crowd will turn against you. One day, you will face the silence whether you want it or not. The only question is whether you will meet it as commander or as prisoner. I do not speak to comfort you. I do not speak to soothe your fear. I speak to arm you with the only doctrine that ensures survival. You must break yourself free from the addiction to others. You must learn to relish solitude, not merely endure it. You must turn it from punishment into fortress, from exile into stronghold, from weakness into power. When you do, you will no longer fear betrayal. You will no longer fear abandonment. You will no longer fear silence. You will no longer fear yourself. And in that moment, you will become dangerous. Those around you will sense it. They will realize they can no longer control you. They will realize their chains no longer bind. They will realize that threats of isolation mean nothing. Because isolation is your weapon. That is the Machiavellian survival advantage. That is the unshakable power of being alone. You are at war, though you pretend you are not. Every glance, every silence, every word withheld or spoken, these are maneuvers on the battlefield. You imagine that peace exists, that the world will leave you untouched, if only you are harmless. That is delusion. Harmlessness is not safety. Harmlessness is invitation. Predators do not hesitate before the unarmed. They strike. When you lack the strength to stand alone, you signal to every rival, every manipulator, every hidden enemy that you are available for conquest. And conquest is what they deliver. You may argue that love and kindness are enough, that the world will reciprocate, that people will reward loyalty with loyalty. But I tell you, this is a fairy tale crafted by those who profit from your naivety. I once warned rulers that arms are more reliable than promises. Understand this deeply. Dependence on affection, on loyalty, on the goodwill of others is a death sentence. Promises evaporate in the heat of conflict. Affection dissolves under pressure. Goodwill collapses when survival is at stake. Only one resource endures: the strength you cultivate in solitude. You must choose. Do you wish to continue as you are, a pawn shuffled across the board by forces beyond your control? Or will you seize command of yourself and become the strategist? If you remain as pawn, your path is already written: betrayal, abandonment, and silence forced upon you as punishment. If you choose to become commander, solitude becomes your weapon, your fortress, your supply line. The choice is brutal, but it is clear. Let me strip away your last illusion. You think alliances will save you. You think your network will protect you. You think your circle will stand by you. This is false intelligence. Alliances last only as long as you are useful. Networks dissolve the moment they cost more than they give. Circles collapse under pressure. They do not love you, they calculate you. They assess your strength, your utility, your influence. The moment the balance shifts, they will turn. I have seen kings overthrown by their own councils, generals betrayed by their own soldiers, leaders abandoned by their own people. Do you imagine you are safer than they? The battlefield is merciless, and so must you be. You cannot afford the luxury of denial. You must confront the reality that you are expendable to everyone except yourself. Once you accept this, you begin to operate from a position of true clarity. You no longer cling. You no longer beg. You no longer plead. You negotiate. You command. You calculate. You act with the cold precision of a strategist who knows that every step is life or death. This is the cost of remaining naive. Perpetual defeat. You will live as servant, suffer as fool, and he has forgotten. The world will not remember your kindness. It will not honor your loyalty. It will not preserve your legacy because you were harmless. The battlefield rewards strength, discipline, cunning, and endurance. Weakness is erased. Only those who can march alone endure. You want transformation? Then understand, it will not come from affirmations, from prayers for acceptance, from begging the crowd to carry you. Transformation comes only when you sever dependence and embrace solitude as your crucible. You must train yourself to endure silence. Force yourself to sit with no distraction, no applause, no validation. Resist the urge to reach for company. Endure the discomfort until it hardens into discipline. At first, it will feel like starvation. Later, it will feel like strength. Eventually, it will feel like power. Do not imagine this is easy. It is not. But you are not seeking ease. You are seeking survival. This is strategy, not therapy. Strategi requires sacrifice. You will lose people. You will be called cold. distant, ruthless. Accept this. Better to be feared than pitied. Better to be respected in solitude than betrayed in company. Better to stand alone as commander than to be swallowed by the crowd as pawn. When you master solitude, your entire posture changes. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer cling, you choose. You no longer fear betrayal, you expect it and are prepared. You no longer collapse when abandoned, you remain unshaken. This terrifies others, because they cannot control what they cannot isolate. You become unpredictable. You become untouchable. You become sovereign. And this is the ruthless call I deliver to you now. Choose. Choose whether you will remain weak, forever begging for chains disguised as love, or whether you will strip yourself bare and face the silence until it bends to your will. Choose whether you will live as a pawn or command as a strategist. Choose whether you will continue being exploited, or whether you will build the fortress of solitude that no betrayal can breach. I offer you no comfort. I offer you no safety. I offer you the truth. The unshakable power of being alone is the only survival advantage you will ever own. Zeiss it, or be zeized.